Welcome back, everyone. It's Joe back on another video. Looking at Western Kentucky, this on this video is a team that loses a ton of production. However, I think that they're still going to be solid in Conference USA. Bringing in a few transfers that I really like, and you look at the core that is returning. 8 returning starters isn't great, but I think there's talent behind the guys that are departing that can step up, and that's who we're going to look at today. Starting at number one, maybe the guy that has the biggest opportunity of anybody in Conference USA is Juwan Jones. With D'Angelo Malone gone, that's a huge loss for this defense. That's a ton of sacks, tackles for loss, a guy that was extremely explosive and dynamic for this defense. And Juwan Jones was kind of a beneficiary of that kind of attention on the opposite side of him. But now that's gone. Now you get that attention. Now he gets a chance to show that he can be the guy. And you look at 45 tackles last year, 7 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. It's not the production maybe you want outside of, opposite of D'Angelo Malone, but now he gets another test. He gets a chance to prove that he can be just like Malone. He can handle the extra attention that teams will send his way and be able to still produce at a high level. Guard Quinton Leslie in all Conference USA selection. I really like watching him on film. You look at some of the things that he does. He has a little bit of a nasty streak to him where he is looking to plant the guy into the ground, but overall he's just a solid player. Now it does help when your offense is taking about a half a second to throw the football. That's going to make any offensive line look good, but Leslie is better than that. And I think that when you look at some of the plays where they didn't throw the ball on a quick screen or a quick slant or anything like that, he was really good. Also in running situations, you're looking at a guy who's capable of blocking at a high level. And now the offensive line has quite a bit of turnover. They lost a couple guys in the transfer portal. They lose a lot of talent at skill positions too. Bailey Zappi obviously is gone, but they didn't bring in a guy that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. That's going to help with that. Jared Stearns is guy. They just lose. Mitchell Tinsley's gone. There's so much talent that's Noah Whitting is gone, and offensive line play is going to be even more important because not only is that talent gone, but they also lost their offensive coordinator. So now you have a new system that maybe won't be as fast as it was last year, especially with the amount of talent coming in that's new, all the new faces, and how long that might take for them to gel. Number 3, Jalen Hall comes in from Western Michigan, 752 yards, 16.3 yards per catch, and 3 touchdowns. A career year for him. And like I said, this is going to be an offense that looks a little bit different because it's not going to be throw the ball a billion times, run the ball once. I think there's going to be a little bit more balance, but Jalen Hall is a guy who could step up. He's one of the wide receivers we'll talk about today. And I think that when you're looking at this offense, while they probably will take a step back, I don't think it's going to be a big one. Jared Day comes from West Virginia. I think a lot of people were disappointed in what he did at West Virginia, and I see why they think that way, but it was just a matter of time for him to move on. And coming to Western Kentucky, at first, when I saw it, I just didn't like the fit. But when you're changing the offense, it's not going to be as much of an air raid as much as it was last year. You're kind of going to look more as a spread offense. I think that he'll be solid. 65.2% completion percentage, 3,048 yards, 19 touchdowns. The 12 interceptions are probably something that they'd like to see him get down. But when you look at the talent that he has around him, it shouldn't be hard to do that. Even if they don't attempt a ton of deep passes or make him do any intermediate to deep throws, you're throwing those short passes, let them take care of the rest. Number 5 linebacker, Will Ignont. 52 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 6 passes defended, 1 interception. A playmaker. Okay, again, the defense might as well have been non-existent last year because Western Kentucky was doing so many good things offensively. It's like the defense was invisible. And outside of D'Angelo Malone, I don't think anybody could name another player unless you were in Conference USA or a Western Kentucky fan. I don't think anybody knew. A lot of people probably didn't even know D'Angelo Malone's name. So You're looking at a defense that we're talking about a few guys here right in a row that are going to be talented and can take a step up. And if the offense is going to take a step back, that means the defense must perform at a higher level this year. Safety Caleb Oliver is another one of those guys. When you go back and watch the film, you have to watch the film for a lot of these guys because you're not getting a ton of production that shows you how good they are. That doesn't mean they can't produce. It's just that teams kind of avoid the good ones or scheme around the good ones. And I think that Caleb Oliver is a guy that exemplifies that. Only 32 tackles last year, but that's because they wanted him back deep. They wanted him taking care of things in the passing game. Only 2 passes defended. There's certain things that you look at, and you can only get so many things from a box score. And a guy like Caleb Oliver doesn't get enough justice if you're just looking at that box score. Linebacker Jaden Hunter takes on a huge challenge this year. Like I said, the defense, there's a lot of guys that you don't really know, but Jaden Hunter is a player that can really step up. 66 tackles last year, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Pretty solid year for a guy that plays on a defense that is on the field probably a lot more than you really would want, because not only does his offense score in a hurry, but the teams that they face have some high-flying offenses. They run a lot of plays, and that means that you're getting a lot of opportunities to get in the box score. And Jaden Hunter is going to, I think, have a good year. I think that he takes a step forward, especially now that things are going to slow down on his offenses in terms of what they're going to try to do. They're going to be on the field maybe a little bit more than they expect if they do slow things down. But you're looking at a guy who's more than capable of handling that. Someone who can really help out the linebackers in terms of keeping things away from them is Darius Ship. You're looking up the middle, 5.5 tackles for loss, which doesn't seem like a huge number. But again, defensive tackles, nose guards, nose tackles, they don't really get a ton of production because they're too busy usually taking on double teams and opening things up for the guys behind them. So I think that Hunter and England are going to have big years because a guy like Ship is going to open things up. And even if he's not, if he's just beating guys one-on-one, or if he is splitting double teams, that's going to be a good thing for this defense. 2 wide receivers that are going to be, they had really good years last year because they were the 3rd and 4th options. Dawood Davis as the 3rd best option in the passing attack last year. Now, keep in mind that Bailey Zappi broke the record for most passing yards in a single season. Davis had 763 yards and 8 touchdowns as the 3rd option. He averaged 17.7 yards per catch as the 3rd option. That's how good this passing attack was. Then you throw in Malachi Corley, 73 catches, 691 yards, more of the possession receiver, 7 touchdowns. 4th option. Now they become potentially 1-2 or even 2-3. Jalen Hall thrown in the mix. That's a trio that you really like. And if you're a guy if you're Jarrett Doege, you have nothing to be worried about. You have nothing the only thing you have to figure out is how to get some chemistry with these guys. The passing attack isn't going to be as lethal as it was last year, but this is still a super talented group that's going to throw the football a ton. There's probably going to be more balanced in terms of running the football, but this is a group who would still like to throw the football as much as they can, and they have the playmakers that can make that happen.